everybody. It's Lila again. I wanted to say that I really appreciate everybody's support in the last really vulnerable video that I made about shit that was happening in my life and the sadness I'm going through and all that. Traveling is tough. It's, people look at the lifestyle of the freedom that we have and the magic that we just get to go to one place after the next, all these beautiful places, and be free and play music, but it can be really icky and tough. And I spent a couple days, I thought I would just sink into nothing. I was just going to fall into pieces. And I'm doing a lot better now, and I'm just more stable, realizing what was happening for me is I was really feeling like I was bad, that I'd done something really bad and horrible, and I've come back into a space of realizing that I am worthy of love, and I am beautiful and sweet and good, and I'm not a bad person, and all of that. So and that's where I can function. If I go into a space below that where I'm just feeling like I'm horrible, or that I've done something horribly wrong or something, then I can't really function. So I can survive and live and thrive in a space in which I remember my own power, and I remember my own gifts, and I acknowledge myself as being the beautiful, magical being that I know that I am. So yeah, that's what's going on. And I wanted to share a little bit about the act of singing, and how singing and music and art and all of these things just make my life such a happy. I'm happy when I make music, when I sing, when I dance, when I compose, just all of those things. Those are the things that give me that space of which I'm conscious of a larger thing. Falling down into darkness and despair and depression happens when I'm not focusing on that. And when I focus on those things, when I'm singing, when I'm drawing, when I'm acting, when I'm performing, any of those things, then I really know who I am, basically. And it's really important for me. It's life affirming for me. And I've been singing for a really long time. I've been singing maybe since I was 5 years old. When I was back at my mother's house in Nashville after she died, we went back there last February through some of May, because we had to clean out her house and all this, which was just an insane thing to do. But I got to see and hear about my mother and see what it was she had done in her life. And she was also an extremely talented vocalist. And I actually didn't really even know how good she was. She was as good as I am. When she was 16, she sang the lead in the Fantastics, and she was incredible. It was just phenomenal. So that just gave me a lot of perspective on who I am as an individual, and the gifts that I was given. And the reason we can live this life is because my mother passed away. So life is very interesting. So singing I've been doing since I was about 5. I would be recording little songs in my dad's studio, because my dad had a recording studio when I was a kid in the house we grew up in, and had all these amazing musicians coming in all the time and recording stuff, and we would record music and be on people's tracks and stuff, and it was really amazing. And that was normal for me. I grew up when there would be a 70-piece orchestra in the living room playing us Happy Birthday, and I grew up around musicians. So I've been very blessed in that way. And I just sang. I always sang. I sang with my sister. My sister was a talented singer, but she never really got into the discipline that is required to really take the talent that you have and the gift that you have, and actually learn how to hone that gift into a skill set that I can do things with my voice that I could never do even 10 years ago. And I really pride myself on my technique and my skill as a vocalist. I basically trained as a singer for about 15 years under different teachers and in school and stuff. And then I went off with Thoth and started performing with him in public. And that was a whole different set of learning. Because when I was studying with voice teachers, I was learning about technique, and I remember myself being very frustrated about the time that it took, because I didn't yet have the discipline that I have now. So I remember I would want to sing the Queen of the Night, and I wanted to sing the Doll aria, and I wanted to sing Gilda's aria from Rigoletto when I was 10. Because I loved all of that music, but I didn't have the skill to do it. And I see young singers going on these horrible TV talent shows and singing those kind of pieces when they're really young, and it makes me just, it's just so icky, because they don't have the skills, and their voices are not mature enough to be able to sing properly. And it took me a really long time, because when I was 20, when I met Thoth, I'd had about at least 10-15 years of training, vocal training, like classical operatic training. And then when I was with Thoth, my voice was pretty still. When I was young, when I was around 10, I loved opera and I wanted to sing opera, but my voice was very breathy. It would be and it was so frustrating. I remember my sister would make fun of me all the time, because my twin actually had a stronger voice than I did when we were very young. My voice was very breathy, but I could always sing very high. I remember my mother would always point to me in the back seat of the car and say, "All right, sing the high note." And I would always sing the high note when we were listening to music in the car. But over time, I learned how to hone that skill that I had and develop it into an actual. But when I was 20, probably, when I listened to albums and things that we recorded back then, that was about 2009, 2010, my voice was still very not so strong. I have such a very pure tone. So when I was 20, that's kind of how I sounded. And I'd not really learned how to sing in a public space, because the Angel Tunnel was one of the most difficult places to sing in. Especially in the summertime. It was just horrific, because the breakdancers would be right around the corner from us, blasting horribly loud music. And over the years, it's just gotten so bad that we don't even go back there. But I had to learn how to be heard, and I was not amplified. I'd never gotten into that space of being amplified. When I met Thoth, I was so young that I'd not then taught to hold a microphone in my hand and feel like that was the way that people could hear me. So I was prepared for this experience of learning how to sing acoustically and using my diaphragm and using my body to make the sound and get the sound to be amplified and larger and bigger sounding without the use of microphones or amplification. And we're very passionate about that. That is a big part of our discipline and our work, is that we have taught ourselves through playing in public and needing to be heard through all the cacophonous chaos, to sing fully and to use the body to make the sound larger. So now my voice is much fuller, and I can still sing very high. I can't sing, I think I used to be able to sing a C above high C, whereas now I can sing a F and E and F and G sometimes up there. But I can't do it just standing here right now. But now my voice, I know how to use this part of my body, the diaphragm, and so that's completely different than it still blows my mind that I can sing like that, and I think people are surprised when they hear me sing, because I don't look like I sound that way. I have a very classical operatic voice, and especially, I mean, I'm 35 now, and so that's my voice, and I have this very strong operatic soprano voice. And I think that's very interesting also in regards to me being an improvisational musician, an artist. I don't sing Verdi or Mozart or Beethoven or any of that stuff. I can. It's not that I can't sing that kind of music. It's that I don't have any desire to. And that's another thing about my life, is I spent 20 years singing other people's music, singing operas and musicals and classical music, and I loved that. But I also loved Cirque du Soleil, and I loved Bobby McFerrin, and I loved Bjork, and all of these experimental kind of musicians growing up, and I was very inspired by that. But I never could really understand how you could improvise something, just the same as I couldn't figure out as a kid how to draw something from imagination. What does that even mean? How can you draw something that you're not looking at in front of you? And it was the same with vocal music, is that how can you sing something that you're not here, that you don't know already? And I remember my first boyfriend, his name was Daniel, when I was 16. He encouraged me to improvise. He was a rock guitarist, and I couldn't. It's not that I couldn't, it's that I didn't allow myself to, because I was really, I'm a classical singer, and just like all classical singers are, I couldn't think about, maybe I could just do something, because improvising requires a lot of bravery and skill also, but it requires faith in your own musical ability, because to take I can sing in any key, any rhythm, and I just can intrinsically do that. I could do that when I first met Thoth, and when I was initially singing with him and playing with him, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to play violin and sing at the same time. I wasn't even that skilled of a violinist. There are photos and videos of me where my violin is like down like this, and the bow is like way down on the fingerboard, because I'm just not able to play. But it was the act of me holding the violin in my hand and just sawing away at something and singing that taught me how to then be able to do it in a way that I actually can do it now. And I'd already learned how to play violin as well. I was very skilled, I wasn't a very skilled violinist. I took violin lessons from maybe when I was about 7 or 8 to when I was about 16, and then I gave it up because I got tendinitis and it got painful to play. So, yeah, over time, but I had the basic skills to be able to do this thing with Thoth and learn from him when I was 20. And I met him at the perfect time also, because it pulled me away from any temptation to use microphones, to find my own strength within my own body. So it's a process. It's a very slow process, and tedious and maddening also, with art, with music, with everything that's worthwhile, and everything that's worth getting good at takes time, and I'm very confident in my skills now, and I know that I am very skilled at what I can do. I have total confidence in my voice and my abilities as a performer. I write my own music, and I can play violin better than I ever could before, which is strange. I find that I have a lot of confidence on the instrument, and I feel comfortable with playing, especially these days. I've been having opportunities to play solo, and that gives me a lot of confidence too, because in comparison to Thoth, I wasn't able to have as many opportunities to play solo, whereas Thoth played solo for about 20 years before I met him, something like that, at least 10. And I wonder how he went out there consistently every day and went to the Angel Tunnel and did that solo. And I think someday that will be my life, is that I will be going out into spaces all over the world and singing myself when Thoth is gone. So yeah, it's a little bit of my story. And now we're here, and life is very different. When we go out to sing, we're just giving. We always give our music away. We just give people what we do. And I love being fabulous and dressing up every day, and because it makes people happy. It not only makes me happy, but it makes everybody else happy who sees me, sees us. So yeah.